Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Big D podcast on Spunky Spectrum Sports Network. I am Alex, and with me, as always, is Dylan. What is up, Dylan?
Hey Alex, you know what it meant Monday, and you know what it means. It's time for a weekly podcast. I was
Yeah,
that was a crazy day of football from those 1 o'clock games to what the what happened in Foxborough last night.
absolutely. I mean, a very crazy week of football. I mean, there was some really good games this week. There was some upsets, as I'm sure a lot of people know, and some disappointing games for fans of our certain teams. But before we get too far into that, I just want to make sure and let everyone know. Please like the video on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. You can always keep up with the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple Music now streaming, and just follow along on social media. And Dylan's got some great content coming out, and you never know who he's going to have on the show, and you're going to be in for something good. So like I said, like, subscribe, follow on all social medias, and if you like to listen to the audio version, Spotify and Apple Music are available as well. But you ready to get started?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. First things first, I think the talk of the NFL weekend was Tom Brady making his return to Gillette Stadium. Pat's Bucs. Everyone was kind of eyeing this game when the schedule released. Everyone was wondering when Tom Brady was going to come back to New England, and we had that happen last night. And what'd you think?
First off, I cannot believe the Patriot fans actually booed Tom Brady.
Unbelievable.
I mean, how many championships did he win for the Patriots? I lost count.
Yeah, I did too. I after the 28-3, I just figured, you know what, he's got as many rings as he's gonna get, and it kept coming, and I can't believe it. I mean, they call them massholes. I don't know if I need to be censored on that, but it's not the exact phrasing. So they call them massholes for a reason. I mean, Boston sports fans have been known for a little bit of vulgarity, a little bit of love and hate, a little bit of some colorful language. So to see them boo the player who put them on the map, really the only reason why they have been relevant at all, considering how terrible they were in the 70s, 80s, and even 90s, really. I mean, the fact that they have one player come in and turn their franchise into a mediocre franchise, into the biggest dynasty maybe sports has ever seen, and then they boo the man on his return to that stadium. It's just, I mean, New England sports, you're either part of it or you're against it. And I think a lot of people, I think a lot of Patriots fans, whether they agreed with the booing or not, kind of got a first row view of why some sports fans might not like New England sports fans too much. But
Yeah, but Tom Brady was not just playing, he was also making history, breaking Drew Brees' passing yard record, and that might have been the quickest ceremony in professional football history. I'm like, that ceremony lasted, what, 5 seconds?
yeah, I mean, Al Michaels was making a big deal out of it in the booth. I mean, it sounded like they were gonna. I mean, he said that they were gonna stop the game and like at least have an announcement. It seemed like, I know there was a little bit of confusion because like at first he was a yard short, and then they moved the ball forward a yard, and then he was tied, and then I guess they moved the ball forward a yard again, which can only happen to a Tom Brady team. But I mean, we won't have to get into that, but it was kind of confusing about if he actually broke the record, and then he had that little 4-yard play after that or something like that. So I get it was a little confusing, but I mean, that's a pretty big record to break. And I was definitely surprised that they didn't have a little bit more of a announcement or ceremony or anything, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of expected New England to do its own thing because Tom Brady's on the other team now, but I don't know. I can't explain what happened there, but to the game itself, that was a weird game because it looked like Bill Belichick threw everything in the kitchen sink at Brady. I mean, Tom was. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Tom nervous for a game, but he overthrew everyone. Everybody's saying, "Well, the ball's wet." I'm like, Tom Brady's played more bad weather games than any quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think Tom was feeling the nerves last night.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any game, he's done it all. He's been in every single situation there is to be in the NFL. But the only situation he hasn't been in is playing against the team that he had been with for 20 plus years. So I mean, there's got to be nerves there. I mean, he's barely human as it is, but the little amount of human that's actually in there must have been showing up last night because yeah, it's pouring down rain, but like you said, I mean, Tom Brady's played in every weather condition there is. I mean, he knows how to throw the football and he knows how to control a game in that kind of weather. And I mean, the amount of passes to Antonio Brown I saw that were just overthrown or over his head, I mean, it was very uncharacteristic of him. But like you said, I mean, Bill Belichick did. I mean, Bill Belichick's a defensive mastermind. He's a head coach mastermind, and if there's any quarterback that Bill Belichick can go up against, Tom Brady's probably going to be the guy that he knows the best, obviously. So, Matthew Judon had a great game. He was in Brady's face all day, like Al Michaels and like they were saying in the studio. I mean, the only way Bill Belichick knows how to play against Tom Brady. I mean, he knows how to play with Tom Brady, so it makes sense that he knows how to play against him and just changing the look of the defense, not giving him the same look twice. And we saw a lot of that yesterday. And I mean, it was a good defensive game. I mean, you see a game with Tom Brady in it, you don't really expect it to be much of a defensive game, but it was a good football game. I mean, credit to New England, credit to Mac Jones, because I mean, yeah, Mac Jones was playing safe the whole game. I mean, it was pretty much short passes, check downs, and everything like that. But he did a good job of controlling the game. A little unlucky with the field goal at the end, but it was a good football game. I enjoyed watching it.
I'm glad you mentioned Matt Jones because there were two quarterbacks in play last night. One was the GOAT, and the
Three,
other
if you
one.
count Jacoby Myers.
Okay. Jacoby Myers played quarterback in high school. He's not a New England or former New England quarterback, but we'll
Right.
save that for another day. But I mean, I know everybody will say Mac Jones is going to be New England's quarterback for the next 10 years. Matt Jones played exactly like I knew he played in the NFL. I thought he'd be accurate. I thought he could command an offense early. But I didn't think Mac Jones would win a game. And if you saw on that 4th and 3 with a minute or so left, Bill Belichick opted for a 56-yard field goal from Nick Folk, who hasn't made one from that fall since 2015.
Right. In the pouring down rain.
And didn't go for 4th and 3. I mean, first off, were you surprised Belichick gambled on the field goal rather than going for it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, how much time was left when that field goal was kicked? It was
About a minute.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that just tells me that he didn't trust Mac Jones because he knows better than anyone. You've got to have 3 zeros on that clock if you're planning to give the ball back to Tom Brady. I mean, there's no amount of time that Tom Brady can't work with, especially if he only needs a field goal. I mean, he just needs one play to move that football team into field goal range. And we've seen him do it a million times before. 4th and 3 with a minute left to go. I mean, a field goal puts you up, but it doesn't put you up. I mean, it gives it gives Tampa, sorry, a field goal to win. It's just, you got to go for it in that situation. If you're me, I mean, you're not really, no one's expecting you to win that game. No one's expecting it was closer than I think everyone expected. Obviously, the weather had something to do with it, I think. Plus, it was a good defensive battle. But in that situation, if I'm Bill, you got to go for the throat. I mean, you got to go for that 4th down conversion, kill some more clock, and then maybe you kick the field goal. If you pick up an extra 10, 15, 20 yards, then you kick the field goal, you burn some clock, and you kick and you make the kick as the clock expires. But trying to go for a 56-yarder, giving Tom Brady even a little bit of time left on the clock, I just don't think it was a smart decision. Obviously, it didn't pay off for him, and they walked away with the L. But it's what you got to know. You're going up against Tom Brady, and to take a kick that long, in that bad of weather situation, just tells me he didn't really trust his offense enough to win the game.
I mean, I mean, if you look at the weird thing about last night wasn't New England's lack of running the ball because everybody struggled to run the ball. But it's funny, you guess what? Tom Brady outgained the New England Patriots on the ground last night.
Yeah, I know.
Brady got 4 carries for 3 yards. New England got 8 rushed 8 times for -1 yard.
-1 rushing yards. I mean, if anyone's playing fantasy football and you started some New England running backs yesterday, then you deserve to lose your fantasy matchups because I mean, this game had a passing battle written all over it, and Miami's run game is bad, but we are not 8 carries for -1 yards bad. I mean,
I will say this: Brandon Bolden caught 6 passes for 51 yards. So if you're in a PPR league, he didn't hurt you. But Damian Harris, let's just say I would have potentially given him the week off on my fantasy team.
yeah, absolutely. But it was a good game. It was an emotional game. Obviously, I was a little surprised that Bill and Tom didn't have a little bit longer of a handshake on the field. I actually saw that there was a prop bet to see if they would even shake hands or not, which they did. And there was reports after the game that Belichick went into the Bucs locker room and spent about 20 minutes with Tom after the game. So obviously, yeah, I mean, obviously they've got a strong relationship there. I was expecting to see a little bit more of an interaction after the game, but Tom's a very kind of deal with his emotions and personal stuff outside the camera. So not too surprising, but
at least Belichick and Brady shook hands longer than Belichick and Mangini here.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I think we've seen on many of an occurrence when Tom Brady or Bill Belichick are on the losing end. They're sometimes the first people to just run into the tunnel. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen in this game, but we've seen it before, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that they didn't have a more grandeur interaction after the game. But
speaking of surprises, did anybody predict the Arizona Cardinals to be 4-0 in the NFC West? Because they didn't beat the LA Rams yesterday. They beat the living daylights out of the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that was probably one of the games, other than the Brady reunion, that I think people are looking forward to the most. I mean, Arizona and LA have been two of the strongest offensive and defensive teams throughout the league this season. I mean, but yeah, a statement game from the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. I mean, I had the Rams winning that game. I wasn't sure if the Rams are going to lose a game all year with the way they've been playing on both sides of the ball. But I mean, Kyler Murray, he's and Cliff. I mean, they're here to stay. I mean, yeah, the Rams are good, but we might be even better. I love that division. That's a fun division to watch in the NFL this year, and they put on a show yesterday, especially for the red team.
Yeah, and you know what was weird about the game, because everyone thinks of Arizona as this high pace, high pass efficient offense. Guess what Arizona did yesterday? They ran the ball down LA's throats. Arizona ran the ball for 216 yards. Wait a minute. Did I say that right?
You said that right. 216 yards.
I mean, Chase Edmonds was all over the field yesterday. 12 carries for 120 yards. James Conner got 18 for 50 and 2 scores. Why didn't get Chase Edmonds the ball in the goal line? It's another matter. But that would be 30 carries for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you started either Arizona running back yesterday, you were eating.
Yeah, you were eating for sure. I mean, like you said, with a team with Kyler Murray, the passing and just with his ability to make plays happen, whether escaping the pocket or just staying calm in the pocket, and a guy like DeAndre Hopkins catching balls. I mean, they've been doing it all year. Especially against a game that or expect is going to be a shootout. I mean, if anyone had a prop bet or something like that for over 150, 200 yards rushing for the Cardinals yesterday, I bet they made a lot of money, because that was definitely a game plan that I don't think a lot of people expected, but a game plan that they ran to perfection. And credit, I mean, obviously we know Sean McVay is an incredible head coach. He's an incredible mind in the NFL. And credit to Cliff and the Arizona's coaching staff for developing a game plan to beat them, and they sure beat them. I mean, beating a Super Bowl, I think the Super Bowl favorite right now by 17 points. That's a statement, and that's a statement that says, hey, I mean, we know you guys are a good team in the NFL, but you shouldn't be knocking us right now.
Yeah, who cares about 3-0? We care about winning the NFC West.
Yeah. And with a performance like that, who's to say they can't do it? I mean,
and it's not just running the ball. I mean, Kyler was efficient, 24, 32, 268. So whether it be throwing, running, Arizona's dangerous.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, how about those Western teams, man? The NFC West and the AFC West are the only two divisions in football without a team with a losing record. So those Western NFL teams, man, they've been really getting it done. But I think those are probably the two most exciting divisions in the NFL right now. And I mean, obviously in the AFC West, Kansas City being 2-2, I don't think anyone predicted that at the start of the season. Vegas being undefeated, obviously they've got a tough matchup with the Chargers today. I mean, that's going to be a big game for them. The Chargers, obviously, Justin Herbert's been playing amazing. That's a huge game. I think that's just as big of a game as the Rams Cardinals. And
if not bigger, you get that old AFC West rivalry. You've got two guys playing fantastic. I mean, Derek Carr's been great. I mean, sorry with what happened to your Dolphins last week, but there's a reason why the Raiders didn't trade Derek Carr. He's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They might have Josh Jacobs back today. He's going to be a game time decision. Obviously.
Oh no, not the Josh Jacobs questionable test for the 15th time in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton Barber, I mean, he looked like Josh Jacobs last week against Miami, so it might not matter to them either way if Peyton Barber rushes like he did against the Dolphins last week. But
yeah, this will be the Kenyon Drake game just to confuse all of us.
Exactly, because I'll tell you what, Kenyon Drake has been dropped from my fantasy teams on the majority of the ones I had him in. And of course, this will be the week he breaks out. But, I mean, but like, as just bouncing back to the NFC West, obviously, it's San Francisco and Seattle are at the bottom of that division. And those are two high-powered NFL teams. Obviously, the Rams and the Cardinals. I mean, whatever division has got the NFC West to play against this year in the AFC and the NFC, I mean, those are four games that you are not looking forward to on the schedule. And
I hate to say this, my Jags have got the NFC West.
Yeah, that's you might be looking at another top tier NFL pick, especially if Urban Meyer decides to spend more times at the nightclub, not with his wife, but
oh no, can we move on, please?
We can move on. As far as moving on, I got a question for you, Dylan. How about them Cowboys?
What? You said it. How about them Cowboys? I must say this. I can't believe I'm saying this. The Cowboys are actually fun to watch on defense. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I mean, you think of the Cowboys as this offensive juggernaut. The Cowboys are fun on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen Quandre Diggs play this year? He's intercepted 5 passes.
Yeah, he's looking like Xavier Howard.
I was thinking he's looking like Deion Sanders.
Oh boy! All right. You heard it here first. After that, I mean, I was going a little more mild on the comparison, but if you want to throw Deion out there, then
Deion. Sorry, primetime's calling now. But the Cowboys, I mean, final score may not indicate they handled the Panthers yesterday, because if you look at that game, Dallas really moved the ball well on offense. They ran the ball for over 240 yards. Dak Prescott 4 more touchdowns again yesterday. Zeke looking like his old self. And the scary thing is, Dallas's receivers were really kept in check. I mean, Cooper caught that one long touchdown, but
you said Cooper Kupp? You mean Amari Cooper?
Excuse me, Amari Cooper. I said Cooper. I didn't say Cup.
Okay. I misheard you then.
Amari Cooper caught 3 passes for 69 yards. CeeDee Lamb was a non-factor, but Dalton Schultz has been great. Blake Jarwin caught a touchdown.
Yep.
And Cowboys just winning and playing efficient football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting 5 sacks yesterday. I mean, Micah Parsons looking like a star in the making. And I mean, could the Cowboys defense potentially be top 10, top 5?
Yeah,
Am I crazy?
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy. I mean, they're off to a 3-1 start. They've got. I mean, obviously there's been question marks about their offense as far as Dak Prescott's health coming into play. Seems like he's fine. I mean, it seems like he's perfectly ready to go. And I mean, obviously, yeah, the defense was, I think, the biggest question mark for Dallas coming into the season. And I mean, they're playing great. They're doing everything they need to do. I mean, it's a 3-1 football team. And Sam Darnold had a good day yesterday. I mean, other than the 2 interceptions, 26 of 39, 301 yards, 2 tuds. I mean, that's obvious. And then he had the rushing touchdowns. I mean, Sam Darnold played a good football game yesterday, and that just adds more praise to the Cowboys defense, because if you're playing against, and we've talked about this before the season started, and I think I have to come clean about something. I think you might be right, Dylan. You were giving Sam Darnold a lot of credit before the season, and I was not on the Sam Darnold train. I obviously the Jets make everyone look like a disaster. Obviously, we'll get a little bit more into that in a little bit, but Sam Darnold, he's been playing good football for the Panthers. Obviously, I mean, it just speaks to how well the Cowboys played yesterday, because he's proving me wrong, and he's looking like a better quarterback than I really thought he was. But I mean, like you said, Dallas, they're forcing turnovers, they're controlling the game. They gave up 28 points, but I think that was more just really good football by Sam Darnold to keep that game as closer than I think it deserved to be. And credit to Dallas. I mean, that division was a joke last year. I mean, the NFC East was an absolute laughing stock last year, and all of a sudden, I mean, the Cowboys look like they're on a push to make things happen in that NFC East.
By the way, you're only saying how. By the way, if Sam Darnold could just stop throwing the cornering digs and make Carolina a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And secondly, you're only saying the nice compliment about Sam Darnold because somebody used him in our DFS matchup yesterday.
I did use him in our DraftKings, and it did finally pay off for me. I'm excited for our rematch tonight. We've got a Monday night showdown tonight, and I really like my lineup on that. So I'm confident in going back to back on you tonight. But I do have to thank Sam Darnold for giving me that dub over you yesterday.
Whatever.
But, oh,
go ahead.
Gotcha. I did slightly bring up the Jets a little bit, and football in New York, it hasn't been a very pretty thing this season, but yesterday got a little prettier. What do you got to say about those New York football teams?
How about not just one New York team winning in overtime, but something that's never happened before in the history of the National Football League? Both the Jets and the Giants winning in overtime, no less.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that stat. That's a good stat. That is, I mean, it seems like those two teams have been in the NFL a very long time, and the fact that that's never happened is pretty surprising to me.
I mean, it seems like you get new stats every week, but the Giants winning in the Superdome 27-21. I mean, Saints finally get a home game and can't even win. I mean, Saquon Barkley will walk-off touchdown.
Yeah. I was very surprised at that. I think New Orleans has obviously been a little up and down this season, not being able to play in their home stadium. Because you know how those Saints fans are. Saints fans are passionate, man. They love their football team. And you told me before on Saturday, you said, watch for the Giants this weekend. You had some good confidence in them. And I just thought, with the Saints coming into the Superdome in front of their home fans for the first time this season, when they were supposed to have a home game earlier in the year, and that was taken away from them. It seems like Saints fans get robbed of playing in their stadium. more often than we wish they would. But I was very confident in the New Orleans Saints yesterday, and you definitely got one over on me on that, because the Giants, they did what they needed to do. I mean, Daniel Jones has been one of the I think he's finally starting to get some appreciation now, but he's been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL this year, just based on the numbers he's been putting up. I mean, he threw for 402 yards yesterday. I mean, that's if you got a quarterback throwing for 402 yards, it's definitely gonna get you at least one win, and they got it for him yesterday.
Yeah, and by the way, the Giants got New Orleans right where they wanted, because it seems like the Saints cannot win overtime games in the dome.
Yeah.
I mean, you
What?
remember those NFC playoff games a few years ago?
Hmm. Whether it's the Vikings, whether it's
The Rams.
the Rams. I mean, it's just, you're right. The playoff, or not playoff, but I mean, yeah, playoff, but overtime games for the Saints in New Orleans, for some reason, it's like their clutch gene just kind of drops a little bit. Obviously, Drew Brees was the quarterback in all of those situations, but it seems like that he's passed that trade on to just had a Jameis Winston, sorry, but and even the Jets. I mean, look at the Jets this week. That must have been the biggest upset. That I don't know the odds on the Jets for yesterday. Obviously, I mean, the Titans not having Julio Jones and AJ Brown had to have obviously hurt their chances, but I don't think there was very many people in the world who would have predicted the Jets to beat Tennessee yesterday.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually could have seen it, because Tennessee was hurting wide receiver wise, and you notice when a team is so aligned on one particular player, like the Titans are with Derrick Henry, he can only carry them so far. And by the way, everybody's looking at Mac Jones as this great rookie quarterback. They're all the great quarterbacks. I'm not the biggest Zach Wilson fan, but
Yeah.
he made some big throws yesterday. Finally showed signs of why the Jets took him number 2 in the draft.
Yeah. He definitely made some big boy plays yesterday. I mean, the kid looks like he's in high school, but he made some NFL level plays yesterday. And I mean, obviously, the Jets are a desperate football team. They were 0-3. It really didn't look like they had much chances to win a football game, it seemed like. But credit to Robert Saleh, credit to Zach Wilson. I mean, obviously that deep touchdown throw to Corey Davis was probably his biggest highlight of the day. But I mean, he that overtime drive, I mean, he put the plays together to put them in the situation to win that football game, and they could have they could have scored a touchdown on that drive. They drove right down the field. Tannehill at the end of that game, when they at the end of regulation, I mean, some of those and in overtime, I mean, he made some clutch plays on fourth down. I mean, obviously a lot of them were just giving the ball to Derrick Henry, but some long third down completions that Tannehill completed to set them up for a 4th and short. I mean, props to Tannehill for clutch genes. I mean, he seems like when the game's on the line, at least in Tennessee, he seems like he's got a little bit of clutch genes to at least give them a shot, which unfortunately fell a little bit short yesterday. But it was a good battle. I mean, I don't think it was definitely, I mean, obviously the Jets winning wasn't what I saw happening yesterday, but it was just a close competitive football game, which impressed me. But like you said, Zach Wilson, he's probably not the most consistent rookie quarterback we've gotten a class this year, but he made it happen yesterday, and he got his team, and he got his head coach the first win of the season, and the first win of his head coach's career, and the first win of his career. So, the Jets fought for it. They really wanted it, and they came out on top.
And now hopefully the Jags get the number 1 picks, and then somebody gives us like 5 first rounders for one of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, honestly, the draft next year is going to be a very interesting one for sure.
Oh, by the way, now it's time for the fun part of the episode. Now we've gone back and forth, and we've decided to make a weekly rant statement permanent. And I hear Alex has got something cooking on his favorite Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. So, normally on these podcasts, we talk about our teams pretty much right away, starting off the podcast. I've barely said a word about this Miami Dolphins football team today because I was waiting for this segment. I'm going to take a deep breath before I start because the Miami Dolphins, first of all, before I even start with the Miami Dolphins as a whole, Jakeem Grant needs to be working at a Publix tomorrow or today. I'm sorry, but Jakeem Grant, I want you off of my football team. And honestly, if you were working at Publix, you'd probably drop my groceries in the bag as you were bagging them. So I don't even want you working at my Publix either. Jakeem Grant is a bum. He cannot catch the football, and he is not worthy of a spot on an NFL roster. I'm sorry that you are fast. Go join a track team. Jakeem Grant cost the Miami Dolphins the game yesterday with that fumble. Obviously, that wasn't the only thing that cost the Miami Dolphins the game, but that was really what sealed our fate. Fumbling the ball on a punt inside their own 20-yard line is just an unexcusable mistake. It's a mistake that he's made time and time and time and time and time again, whether it's on special teams, whether it's as a receiver. I do not want Jakeem Grant on my football team anymore. I don't care who you bring in instead of him. Have Jalen Waddle return punts. I don't care. Jakeem Grant, please, I am begging you, end my misery and leave the Miami Dolphins. Also, offensive coordinators. There's an old saying that if a ship has two captains, a ship has zero captains. If a team has two quarterbacks, they have zero quarterbacks. If a team has two offensive coordinators, they have zero offensive coordinators. And the Miami Dolphins have the most boring, useless, and unimpressive offensive game script that I have ever seen. And that is saying a lot as a fan of the Miami Dolphins, a 25-year-old fan of the Miami Dolphins. This is the worst offense I've ever seen. I've seen the 1-15 season, and at least Cleo Lemon can throw the ball to Greg Camarillo. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, I thought was comparable to Ryan Fitzpatrick, as in a backup that can come on and win football games and make plays. Jacoby Brissett took check down after check down after check down. The fumble that he had where he bodies off 3 or 4 defenders running at him and then just drops the ball instead of throwing it out of bounds. Take a intentional grounding, take an incompletion if you're out of the pocket. I don't remember, but don't just stand there and let 4 people knock the ball out of your hands. This team, I've never appreciated Tua Tagovailoa more than I do right now. Jacoby Brissett, I wanted Reed Sinnett to come in at halftime yesterday. I am sick of Jacoby Brissett. I am sick of Jakeem Grant. I am sick of the offensive coordinators, and I'm starting to get sick of Brian Flores and Chris Greer, because this Miami Dolphins team, I've seen bad Miami Dolphins teams, but the difference is I had no hope for those Miami Dolphins teams. This Miami Dolphins team, I've had hope. I had high expectations. I expected the playoffs, and the product that we've seen on the field this season is just irritating, aggravating, mind-blowing. The penalties, the one thing that Brian Flores had going for him was a well-disciplined team that played smart. Having an offsides penalty on a punt on a 4th and 3, and you jump offsides to give them the ball back and then they go and score a touchdown. It's just the amount of things that added up yesterday. I wanted to cry watching that game yesterday, because the fact that we lost to an injured 0-3 Indianapolis Colts team at home during Don Shula's Memorial game. That's my rant. That's it. The Miami Dolphins pissed me off, and we're going to get absolutely murdered by the Buccaneers next week. Throw your house on the Buccaneers money line. Throw the house on the Buccaneers spread. Throw the house on Miami Dolphins under on rushing yards. It's just going to be an absolute disaster next week, and I'm looking forward to it because hopefully someone gets fired after it. That's my rant.
I must say this: watching the Dolphins this year has been frustrating because I love Miami could have made the playoffs. I really like Miami. I like the addition he made in the offseason. Love Jalen Waller coming, but the Dolphins have regressed.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea what's happened with this team. Like how many draft picks have the Dolphins gotten in the top 3 rounds last 2-3 drafts?
It's been 4 picks in the first 2 rounds the last 2-3 years.
And be honest, what's happened to all of them?
Austin Jackson is the worst draft pick I've ever seen. He's the worst offensive lineman I've ever seen. That was a bust of a pick.
I actually got one. I've actually got one worse than you. How about Isaiah Wilson on the Titans last year?
Yeah. Okay. And you know who signed Isaiah Wilson to try and give him a shot after the Titans cut him? The Miami Dolphins, and that lasted about a week. You know, I don't mean to interrupt. However, there's one more thing that popped in my head. At this point, if Deshaun Watson gets cleared, I don't think it's going to happen, but if he gets cleared, I at this point, I am almost ready to send the Houston Texans as many draft picks as they want, because it's not like our draft picks are going to mean anything. They're going to be bums that we're going to cut after 2 or 3 seasons anyway. So why accumulate all these draft picks if we're not going to use them on talent? I mean, obviously there's been some exceptions to the rule. Christian Wilkins has been a good player for the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle, it's still early, but he seems like he's going to be a very solid receiver for the Miami Dolphins. And Javon Holland was a good pick. Everyone else, though, Igbenogany, even Jalen Phillips. I can't even remember his name because I've barely seen him on the field this season. The biggest impact he had yesterday was a face mask penalty, which wasn't even a face mask, and that really cost us the game. But honestly, if there's a quarterback available, whether it's Deshaun Watson, I love Tua, but I'm ready for elite quarterback play in the Miami Dolphins, and I'm sick of not seeing it. And trade the house to get one, because we can't utilize our draft picks anyway. What's the point of accumulating these draft picks if we're just going to draft bums? I'm sick of it.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
There's a quarterback in Green Bay who may be available. He's won, just saying, few MVPs, Super Bowl. Sure, he's 37.
Yeah.
Take Aaron Rodgers for a year or two?
I'll take Aaron Rodgers for a year or two. Maybe I think if you take Aaron Rodgers, you probably can't hold on to Tua, unfortunately, because with Aaron Rodgers, it's not a long-term thing. It's a couple years. You hope the team around him is good enough to contend. But I'll take Aaron Rodgers. I'm just sick of seeing mediocre quarterback play at the quarterback position. I think Tua has it. I really do think Tua has it. But with this offensive line, he's going to die before he has a chance to prove it. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what they should do. I think it's getting very close to clean house, which is disgusting to say because this was the season that it was supposed to all come together, but it's not. And, I'll take Aaron Rodgers if we can at least have somewhat of an improvement to the offensive line, because that's a big problem. But the play calling is the biggest problem because we have the players. I mean, I've seen the highlights of Jalen Waddle streaking across the middle of the field and Jacoby Brissett checking down to the running back when he was wide open. There was no one 10 yards away from him. It's just, I think Tua makes that play. I think the Dolphins probably win that game with a healthy Tua yesterday. But there's so many problems that the Dolphins have this year that I didn't expect them to have. And obviously the concerns that we had about this team are even worse than we expected. And the problems that we didn't expect to have this year are coming up. And it's just, I'll take Aaron Rodgers. I'll take anyone. I just want to see some good quarterback play in the Miami Dolphins.
By the way, get this stat with Jalen Waddle. In 4 games, he's caught 25 passes for 200 yards. That would be 8 yards of reception.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get the stats. Let me see if I can get stats. Hold on, give me 1 second. Last year with Alabama, you know what his average yards for reception? You know what he averaged per reception?
About 40, 42, I think.
21.1 yards per reception.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that is yards after the catch, which I mean he should be doing more of here. It's just the scripting. It's just the play calling. They're giving him the balls, but the ball, but they're giving him these out routes, and I just feel like there's too much talent on this Dolphins team to it just seems like they're playing so safe. And it's not only a two-headed monster on the offensive coordinators. We also have our quarterbacks coach, who's actually apparently the one calling in the plays. It's a three-headed monster. It's not working. And the biggest thing that drives me crazy about the Dolphins, the biggest problem I have with this team, is if you watch the Miami Dolphins in the second half of the fourth quarter, when they're down 2 touchdowns, the Miami Dolphins must be the best garbage time team in the NFL. Watching Jacoby Brissett throw the ball up to Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki yesterday at the end of that football game was beautiful. He's taking chances downfield. Devontae Parker going up. He's coming down with the ball. They're scoring touchdowns. They scored more. They recorded more yards of offense in the second half of the fourth quarter than they did in the first, second, and third quarter combined. I think it's just I don't understand why we play it so safe throughout the entire game. Myles Gaskin had 2 carries, I think, yesterday. I could go on all day, Dylan, and I know I've been ranting a lot. It's just this team is breaking my heart, and this team sucks.
I feel your pain. At least you've got to win.
Yeah, you're right. We got one. Should have a lot more, but I digress.
Have you gotten out your anger for the day?
I think I have. I feel a lot better. We're gonna get blown out next week, but this Dolphins Jaguars game is gonna be a closer game than I ever thought. And if we lose to Trevor Lawrence and your Jaguars, man, I don't know if I'll be able to do a podcast that week.
Yeah, that might be a solo. Yeah, that might be a solo with one of us happy and the other one probably getting over a hangover.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So hopefully the Dolphins could somehow pull a huge upset. I don't even know what the line is for the Miami Tampa Bay game.
I don't know.
What is it? Is it bigger than the Buffalo Houston yesterday?
It's Tampa favored by 10 right now.
Oh, I'm smashing that. Smashing.
Yeah, that's a lock of the week. Smash the over on that. Although garbage time, Miami might have a garbage time bad beat on that, because it seems like the only time we know how to play is after the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter. So we'll probably score a touchdown, an onside kick, and another touchdown, and lose by 9 or something like that.
Yeah, this is going to be like bad. This is going to be like Washington, Atlanta, where even if you took Atlanta plus 1.5, they lost by 4. So not only did your team lost, but you bet lost because Washington kicked a field goal. They scored a touchdown.
Yeah, and it's just ridiculous.
All right, so thanks for getting. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna close out, so go ahead. Your show, Dylan. Close us out.
No, you go.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still with us after that long rant I had about the Miami Dolphins, I hope it was entertaining. But thank you for tuning in. We are here every Monday on the Big D podcast. Remember, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. Like, subscribe, and listen every week. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being here, Dylan.